When you look up the word old, it is often defined as no longer young or belonging to the past. I find this definition very unsettling because it feels like a threat to my own youth. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. Too. The only difference with me being 75 is the pains that I'm having, but I just feel the same. I don't look at myself as if I'm an old woman.
The United Nations considers 60 as old. But what does that really mean? I've been exploring the experiences of older Black people in England to understand not just what it means to age, but also what it means to exist as part of an aging population today.
This is me, and that's my older sister.
The best thing about getting old is you don't have a period anymore. Don't let anybody tell you any different. I couldn't wait for it.
As a youngster growing up, I wasn't thinking about getting old, which was probably stupid, really, but that was just the way it was.
No, I don't think it was stupid.
I don't know. Because I never, you just live in.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think I would feel like this at 60.
How did you think you would feel?
I think when I was a lot younger, thinking, at 60 you're going to be really on the floor, watching the world go by, and you're not going to be doing anything,
As people age, both their bodies and minds evolve.
Nice.
And it's not always easy. Health-wise, it can be increasingly challenging.
My health is a lot worse than it was, say, 30 years ago. I don't like the idea of getting up every morning and having to take tablets and things like that.
Yeah, you can't really do that much, but the brain power is still there.
The body change, menopause, it's a damn nuisance, which I think is very unfair, isn't it, as women? Why should we have the period and then have that as well? These men have it. You don't know how easy you've had it, mate.
Growing older brings unique challenges, and Black older people in England face even more. Since 2011, their numbers have risen by 80%, yet they still face persistent struggles.
My childhood wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. I didn't feel love as a child.
Black people, quite often living in the UK, have experienced all kinds of trauma, even my own parents.
And it was the time of where there was those signs saying no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. So I became very conscious of my own blackness.
I can remember being at work and one of the ladies I work with, she used to describe black music as monkey music and things like that.
So I'm a child, I would say, of the 70s. So from then on, you're watching television. I'm taking in what's on television. You've got your favourite TV programmes, your favourite series. And they were all about white people, weren't they? They were all like the beautiful blondes or beautiful brunettes, with the swaying hair and the ha-ha stuff going on, There were no girls with afros on the television. I mean, now it makes me laugh, but I think back and I ask myself, did it affect me without me realising it was affecting me?
Within the Black community, some, like mixed-race groups, face further marginalization. Gisela, who's Nigerian-Italian, explains this well.
On a personal level, I've had more racism from the Afro-Caribbean community than I have from the, let's say, white ethnic community. If that community doesn't see me being black, what am I then? What am I? If we go to the nitty-gritty, yes, I'm mixed race, yeah? And again, I'll ask the question, if Hitler walked down the street, would he say to me, no, not you, you're white? Of course he wouldn't. Once I would have to pick which one am I? Can you imagine that? How insulting that is for either of my parents. Why would I pick? And what is it based on? Again, it's based on the racism towards the white person, isn't it? And I get it, right? Because it's a very ugly thing. It is a very ugly thing. And don't get me wrong, if anybody, white or black, ever insults me on the question of my race and who I am, going to be a lot of problems, aren't there, obviously?
In the past 40 years, the number of people aged 65 and above has jumped by 52%. with increased diversity among older adults. This highlights widening inequalities.
I think that society today does not have really much room for the older generation. I'm 62, and the government is talking about cutting the warm heat vouchers for certain people, which only means that the poorer are gonna suffer more than anybody else. And they're also talking about stopping the bus passes for people of 65, 67. So the bus pass now, you have to be 67 to get a bus pass, right? Free bus pass. Why can't people have a bus pass at 60? I mean, yeah, we're fitter. Yes, we live longer, but based even on just not on that premise, right, that we live longer. Let's have a bit of luxury just because we live longer.
The NHS faces a crisis, with staff shortages failing to meet rising demand from older people. Reverend Kevin Shaw, a mental health chaplain, speaks on the NHS crisis and the growing challenges of supporting an aging population.
We're all familiar with A&E crisis that happens when it comes to the change in the weather and flu season, and I think that is almost like a little bit of a litmus test. It's an indicator of the problems that exist.
Things are changing with all the the NHS and all of the support systems that used to be there. Gone are the days where you had one doctor and he knew you. Now doctors don't know you, and that is not good, is it?
As our population gets older, the impact on the workforce is hard to ignore.
The baby boomers of the 60s, and I'm one of them, will be fastly approaching to be needing to have access to services in terms of their social care and medical health as well, on the basis of age.
It has implications for the country in terms of being able to find enough people for the jobs to be filled, and that's been impacted by things like Brexit as well.
This is something that is going to require, I believe, a new way of thinking and a new way of embracing our diversity and our need for a shared collective approach to providing healthcare.
With low life expectancy and growing diversity in Nottingham, the need for culturally sensitive care is evident. But council services remain strained and underfunded. The impact of an underfunded social care system for older people could even be worse for diverse communities, leaving minority groups who are already struggling further behind.
The implications for black people and people from ethnic minorities might be that with that pressure, care becomes quite reductionist, probably more homogenous, rather than having the staff and having the time to be able to think carefully about that cultural competency.
Former hospice therapist Ruth Foster shares the challenges organizations face in creating truly inclusive care for the elderly.
There is the desire to attract a wider clientele and obviously to reach out and be a more inclusive service. But I think that the staffing ratios didn't really lend themselves comfortably to allowing people of other ethnicities to feel comfortable necessarily in those environments.
Clive Foster insists that efforts must continue to connect with diverse older adults.
There has to be sustained investment long-term to reach our diverse population. Some of these community centres that were there to really help create that social cohesion and, help people connecting together, making them feel more alive. Some of those services have been decimated. They no longer exist. So what do you have? You have people who don't come out of the house.
I'm going up to the Acme if you want to come up there. Yeah, I might as well come up there.
Community centres vital for social support face funding struggles. Often run by older volunteers, they provide a crucial lifeline but are hard to sustain.
There's been numerous organisations within the city of Nottingham that have not been properly supported by the city council.
When this
centers first opened, yes, we used to receive funding from the city council and others. However, during 2010 to 11, all that thing stopped. Everything went downhill then.
In fact, when the community development worker first came to visit us, it was one of the first things he said, there's no money around.
Let's be honest, there's no money anyway. A little government project, a bit of funding might only last maybe a month, 6 months. I mean, what are you going to do with that at the end of the day? You're not really going to do much with that, are you?
That building there, when you used to go down that street there, it used to be the wash house and the baths. So people used to go there and have a bath once a week. And then next door is where you used to go wash clothes.
While gentrification can improve infrastructure, Gisela highlights its impact on her community in St. Anne's and her generation.
They've taken the pubs away from local communities. That's where people used to go and talk and chat, and you would find out that someone was poorly or needed help. That's all gone. So most of my generation are, on their own, I suppose, on their own. You go home, you do your shopping, they go home, you don't see anyone because there's really nowhere really to go.
As we face an aging multicultural future, we must ask, how do we view and support the elderly? Our answers will shape our growth and define our inclusivity as a society.
My nephew back then. Perhaps I would like to have had a family, and settled down as earlier in life, but probably that's something that I didn't have, which is is an important, I think, part of life experience.
Nearly 5 million people in England live alone, and there is a growing number of older individuals who have never been married or are aging without children.
When you were young and girls used to say, oh, I want to get married, I want to have X amount of children. I was not that sort of person.
Why?
I don't know, it's just something that never occurred to me.
Who said, apart from society, that you have to A, get married and B, have children? Who said that? Personally, you know what I would do if I could, I'm going to say get married in inverted commas, I would avoid the marriage, right? All I would do is go and have the food and have the dance and the party, but not get married and say, we're together, because you're married, aren't you? Even when you're with someone that you love, you like, you can still be married, even if you don't put a ring on it.
Do you think that you'd still maybe want to get married?
I never say never. I never say never. So if that was to happen, I think that would be a great thing.
Do you think you'd be open to love?
I'm open to love. I'm not open to riffraffs though. Would I like to meet someone? If I meet someone, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I never look for a boyfriend. I don't believe in looking for men. They're not that important, right? If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, right? And you can meet a man while you're getting a loaf of bread at Heron. And listen, and if I end up being on my own, let me tell you something, anybody that gets me is going to be lucky. 100%. 100%. I bring a lot to the table, yeah, and I don't have any baggage, by the way.
Emphasis on baggage.
Emphasis on baggage, and I'm not talking about a handbag.
I do more dead people.
As family structures change, developing social networks and support systems becomes essential, especially as people approach the end of their lives.
I think death frightens me. I don't like to discuss it. It took me years to even make a will.
I think the scariness is in the finality, right? It's something, you can't get anything more final, can you really?
Probably if I wasn't a Christian, it would make me feel some way. But because I'm a child of God, I know this world is not our home. We have to leave this world someday.
I mean, people say, oh, I've bought my spot up the cemetery, and I say to them, I don't want to think about it. I lost my sister, who I grew up with, when she was 37. Then I've lost my stepmother, and I've lost my father. So there was 4 of us grew up in the house, and I'm the only one left. And I think that is hard to come to terms with, you know.
Would you say that it's more lonely now?
Lonely? No, I don't think so. I think it's lonely if you choose to be lonely. I wouldn't say I was lonely. Probably I am and I just don't know it.
I miss my husband and miss somebody that when I go to the bed I could hug. I just love being in my old age.
How would you like to be remembered?
I look back on pictures of myself when I was a young girl, right? And you know what, right, Giselle? You were nice. You were really nice. And you should have stood in that mirror, front of that mirror a bit longer and looked. But you were really nice.
I'd like people to say she was a happy person, but I don't think that will be it, but that's what I would like.
It's quite amazing how I feel a lot better at 60 than I thought I would. I've got to say.
When I started this story, all I wanted to do was share the experience of an older person. But after 6 months of filming this, I realized that aging is a gift. Yes, it has its challenges, but there's nothing to fear, only beauty to discover.
Better watch out because I'm going to be around when I'm 100. So I would say that everybody else needs to worry.